Well, guys, it's official. After about 2 years and 3 months, 1,400 hours of dual given, 9 check red sends, close to 40 first solos, about a million sets of steep turns. Yesterday was officially my last day as a full-time flight instructor. Man, that feels weird to say. It's truly the end of an era, the end of a huge chunk of my career progression so far. And I know that we are leaving to go on and do bigger and better things, but at the same time, it's been a pretty emotional roller coaster for me, surprisingly. So in this video, I want to talk about what flight instructing has taught me, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, maybe tell some embarrassing stories about my students. It's so weird thinking back to like when I first started instructing, right? Because looking back on it, I didn't know anything. I was such a naive, dumb pilot. I was 20. I had just turned 21 when I started instructing, and now I'm 23 and turned 24 in 5 months. When you first start instructing, you have this insane sense of imposter syndrome where like you don't really feel like you deserve to be doing what you're doing. Like, who am I to be teaching the next generation of pilots? I was so unbelievably nervous. Every single student that I flew with at the very beginning, I kind of jumped right into it. I did some checkout flights at the airport that I was going to be instructing in, and then they opened up my schedule and said, "Here you go, instruct." Now, I think you pretty quickly get over that as time goes on and you end up being a little bit more confident. And it's something that I see with every single CFI that I have helped mentor being an assistant chief flight instructor. Is every single CFI feels that imposter syndrome. I wanted to become a CFI, obviously, to build hours, but that's not the only objective. I wanted to mentor and teach the next generation pilots because I think that that's such honor and a privilege to be able to do. And I still remember the day that I sent my very first student solo, and oh my God, was I nervous. He ended up killing it. Great kid. But man, was I nervous. And I think every instructor probably feels that same way. No matter how confident you are in your students' abilities, you're still going to be sitting there all clenched up for your first solo. I do want to sit back and kind of talk a little bit about what instructing really looks like to the people that haven't gotten to do it yet or don't really know. It is not a very glamorous job. I feel like on this channel, I try to do a very good job of trying to talk mainly about the positives of flight instructing because overall, it is such an honor and a privilege and one of the, if not the most rewarding things that I have ever done in my life. But it's not easy. You have very, very long days where you're at the airport for 12, 13, 14 hours a day. And then on top of that, if you're someone like me, you go do all of those hours at the airport and then you go drive for Uber for 3 or 4 hours after. So, your day turns into 16 hours a day that you're away from home. And then on top of that, you're constantly battling things like weather cancellations or aircraft going down for maintenance. Whereas a lot of schools, like the instructors, only get paid for while they're flying. So you could go and you really need the money. You've got a 12-hour day ahead of you. And then it turns out stormy, your planes go down for maintenance, and then all of a sudden you don't get paid that day. The pay versus workload and stress. And I feel like as an instructor, you have such a high amount of responsibility that needs to be taken so seriously. And I feel like in today's day and age, I understand that a lot of the times that being a CFI is putting in your time, putting in your dues, so to say, but with such a high responsibility on your shoulders. You have your students' lives in your hands. There's going to be days where you feel like the pay just isn't going to match that. And on top of that, like flying isn't your only responsibility. You will become very good friends with your students. Something that kind of dawned on me on my way into work yesterday on my last day was throughout my time as an instructor, I've probably had over 100 different students. But most of my students have only had one instructor. Like for me, each one of my students played a relatively small portion in my career so far, right? But to them, I am all they have when it comes to flying. Most of them in today's day and age don't have a family member that's a pilot or friends that are pilots. So literally, I was the only person that they knew when it came to flying. So on top of just teaching them how to fly, you're also a mentor to them. You are a career coach. You're a friend. You're a therapist. You're a motivator. Like you wear so many hats. And then on top of that, there's a lot of the behind the scenes work that your students don't get to see, keeping records, developing lesson plans, staying up at night stressing about your student that has their check ride the next day just as much as they're stressing about it, if not more. But I think that all of these challenges do such a good job of just building resilience and passion for doing this. Sure, I mean, you could come into work every day and you could do the bare minimum, show up, go fly, go home, not think about it the rest of the day. Just build your hours and get out. But think about what an injustice you're doing to your students. So, flight instructing is very, very difficult. I loved my time as an instructor, but man, did it come with very, very hard days. But like I kind of just touched on, it's the most rewarding thing I have ever done. Being able to take somebody that knows nothing about airplanes, nothing, has never been in a small plane before, and being able to take them all the way up to the point that they can fly by themselves, or even beyond the next step where they get their license and pass their check ride. I mean, that's on you as an instructor. It's the feeling that you get when you see them get out of the plane after their check ride knowing that they passed and you hear them go and they smile. And I've had a few students give me little gifts that you guys might not be able to tell, but this is actually surprisingly very emotional video for me to make. So I'm trying not to be emotional, but I'm gonna miss it, man. I mean, that feeling of pride and proudness that you get that you have with your students when they learn something new or pass the check ride. I don't have kids, so I guess I can't vouch for this, but I would imagine that it's very close to the feeling of watching your kids do something that makes you proud, right? It's just such a good feeling, like when you've been trying to teach something over and over and over and it's just not clicking, and then all of a sudden you say the right word and then it just snaps and it clicks and they get it. There's nothing in the world that can beat that feeling. And you become good friends with your students. I still talk every single one of my students that has passed their check ride that I have gotten through. And even the ones that unfortunately I didn't get to finish up as we were talking after our last flights yesterday and the day before. I mean, we all agreed that we're going to stay in contact because I want to know every single step of their journey and how they're doing. So, I mean, I feel like I built friendships with my students and especially the other instructors that will last the rest of my life. I know the lighting's horrible with my right arm being super bright, my left arm not. I'm recording this earlier than usual, so I've got the sun coming in at me at a weird angle. For those of you listening on Spotify, you have no idea what I'm talking about, but that's okay. Let's talk about some of the lessons that you learn as a CFI. I think that there's 5 core lessons that you really learn. The first one is leadership. I mean, you're managing so many different personalities. No two students are ever going to learn the same way, are going to react the same way to the things that you tell them and the things that you teach them. Every single one of them is going to react differently, and you have to learn how to manage all of that and motivate them to study and motivate them to put in the effort that they need. The second one is communication. Being able to take such complex topics like weather systems or some of the regulations or airspace and break them down into simple terms, and teaching somebody from 0 to 1, your communication skills improve greatly. I think honestly that's the only reason why I can make these YouTube videos, is because I know how to break down complex trends and everything like airline hiring into simple terms that almost everyone can understand. Situational awareness. I would say that being a CFI has made me more situationally aware and safer in almost everything that I do in life. You learn not to make reckless decisions. You learn not to make impulsive decisions and that to think everything through. And I think that that's something that I have absolutely taken and carried over into my everyday life. The next one is humility. Like I said, I didn't know anything when I started. I mean, I got humbled on day one of instructing because students are going to ask you questions that you've never even thought of before, and all of a sudden they've asked it to you and you have no idea, and you have to be able to admit that you have no idea and know where to find the answer. And then as my time as a CFI progressed, I mean, you learned something new every single day. But the longer you do it, and if you have junior instructors under you, you get to teach them everything that you didn't know when you started out. And then finally is emotional intelligence. Yeah. When you're debriefing a student after a flight that didn't go well, you have to be able to balance critique and encouragement, because you can't just critique them and tell them every single little thing that they did wrong and no big, they just did horrible, the flight sucked, they're never going to get their license. You need to critique them positively, but also you have to mix in just the right amount of encouragement to where they believe you. If you just go out and tell them after every single flight, man, you killed it, that's the best flight I've ever seen, they're not going to believe that. But you also can't just critique them the whole time, because then they're going to get discouraged. You have to find such a very fine line of critique and encouragement. I think one of the hardest things to deal with as a CFI is accepting the fact that students are going to quit along the way. I mean, you look at the statistics, mainly the one by AOPA, that suggests that I think 80% of student pilots never actually get their license. And it's so easy to blame yourself for that. And I think that's one of the toughest parts of being a CFI, is because you often wonder, at least I often wondered, like, was it something that I did? Did I push them too far? Did I not encourage them enough? And on top of that, the longer you do it, I mean, it's so easy to get burned out as a CFI, and it's something that I absolutely struggled with. I'd be lying to you if I said that I didn't experience mass amounts of burnout. I mean, like I said, you're working long days almost every day. And then on top of that, most of the time it's not enough pay on its own, so you have to go get a second job on top of that, especially if you went to a school where now all of a sudden you've got massive amounts of student loans to pay off. You're not going to be able to pay that off just on a flight instructor's salary. And then on top of that, you have to deal with periods of maintenance or bad weather. It's these moments that teach you perseverance and professionalism. But overall, I mean, flight instructing made me a way better pilot. I think yesterday, on my last day of being a flight instructor, is probably the best stick and rudder pilot that I will ever be. I don't see how I could ever be better at flying an airplane than I was as a full-time flight instructor. I mean, once you get to the airlines, I mean, you're not really hand flying, and the hand flying that you do in those jets, from my understanding, is totally different from the stuff that you do in small planes. So I don't think that I will ever be as good of a pilot as I was back then. And I definitely didn't start out that way, not by a mile, but it's a skill that you learn and you're reinforcing every single day. I don't think my time as a flight instructor is over, even though my time as a full-time flight instructor is over. I would like to think that the videos that I have made on this channel and the videos that I will continue to make on this channel will continue to help mentor and teach the next generation of pilots. And I would never have had that opportunity if I didn't become a full-time CFI, because I wouldn't know what I was talking about. I think just having that ability to potentially like leave behind a legacy from my period as a CFI is something that I am so unbelievably thankful for. Like it makes me emotional talking about it and thinking about it. And I'm not a very good person when it comes to talking about emotions. But all in all, I mean, I'm so thankful for the opportunity that I have had to teach you guys and mentor you guys, as well as teach and train the actual students that I've had. I look at it and I think this channel's at almost 5,200 subscribers. And in my eyes, I have 5,200 students here that I get the honor of teaching. That's not something that a lot of people get. And I'm so unbelievably thankful for it. It's just such an incredible feeling. I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, I'm nervous to go off to airline training. It's been so long since I've been in a training environment where I've been the student, being on the other side of it. And it's just such a huge step in my career, and it's truly saying goodbye to the last almost 2.5 years of my life. The end of an era that allowed me to build up all of this. I'm so beyond excited, don't get me wrong, but I'm nervous. I think it's kind of the fear of the unknown, the fear of change. I want to take a minute to speak directly to you, either if you are a current CFI that's in the trenches or a student pilot who's on the receiving end of it. Keep your head up, keep going. Every single day is going to seem long and exhausting, but one day you're going to look back on it and realize that it went by so fast. And even more importantly, you're going to look back and think about how many lives you've changed, how many people you've mentored, how many people you've taught, how the skies are safer because you taught your students good habits, or you as a student pilot, you've learned good habits and you've continuously wanted to learn, and you're not just in it to learn how to fly planes, you're in it to be a good, competent, safe pilot or safe instructor. The honor of being a flight instructor is such a privilege, and not one that should be taken for granted just because you're building hours for the airlines. Yesterday may have marked the end of me being a full-time flight instructor in terms of my career, in terms of this YouTube channel. I truly feel like this is just the beginning. We're going to go out and we are going to do great, incredible things in aviation. I am. All of you guys watching are. All of my students that I've taught over the last 2 years. I mean, we are truly the next generation of pilots. And the fact that you're watching these videos shows that you have a willingness to learn and you want to get better and be safer. And I can't wait to see where we go next. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week.